Welcome to Two-Headed Hero. My name is Boss Sauce, and today we have for you a special fun video about the Dwarves. I fucked that up completely. Anyway, my name is Boss Sauce. What is your name? Other person that is also in this video. Welcome to Two-Headed Hero. My name is Boss Sauce.
And I'm Rollinkun. And together?
God damn it.
How do we normally do it?
I don't know. I think we say Backlog Quest, that's why. Welcome to Backlog Quest.
Okay.
Welcome to Backlog Quest, where we trudge through the terrifying tunnels of our game libraries in search of elusive and entertaining treasures. My name is Boss Sauce.
And I'm Rollinkun. And together, we are the Two-Headed Hero. Today's Backlog Quest cannonballs head first into the Dwarves, 2016's flawed and forgotten yet frankly fun Frankensteinian creation from THQ Nordic and KINGart. Based on a 2003 fantasy novel by Marcus Heitz, The Dwarves presents a strange amalgamation of gameplay. Physics elements combined with strategic combat and light RPG mechanics, all wrapped together under choose-your-own-adventure trimmings. How do I move Glandolin? Okay, the first part of his name is Gland, dude. Gland is good.
Are you ready for some hand-to-gland combat?
Yeah. So, click around, I guess. Yep, there we go.
Oh, right-click, okay. Click on Leap Attack, and then select my target. Oh, you control it like a MOBA. Okay. Kung Fu.
After a brief tutorial battle, players take control of Tungdil Bolafar, an orphaned blacksmith, and swell the ranks of his expeditionary force. The task? Blaze a path into demonic lands to end an immortal evil and discover the secrets behind Tungdil's mysterious past.
German developer KINGart is mostly known for free-to-play children's games and charming point-and-click adventure titles. By planting a mailed boot squarely in the strategy RPG arena, the Dwarves represents a considerable step outside their element. So is this mixture up to recipe? Let's jump in and find out. The Dwarves is fairly pleasing to look at with a surprising sense of scale to the encounters. Detailed character animations abound through the explorable areas, and this carries over to combat. Less care is paid to the motions of the orcish hordes and shambling undead that oppose your heroes, but the sheer number of combatants the game throws your way is staggering. Some visual bugs do poke up from time to time, like floating body parts or misplaced decals, but overall it's forgivable.
Who could tell? Anything could go wrong with all that hocus pocus.
The Dwarves' epic high fantasy style brings to mind some of the best battle scenes from Lord of the Rings, and does a great job of making the protagonists feel like a powerful squad of stumpy juggernauts. Traversing the overland areas has a more board-gamey vibe, with playing pieces shifting around during every turn. Stumbling on a point of interest will often reveal dialogue trees or even other small explorable environments. Poking around in these areas will often reveal side quests, or further flesh out the world building for the realm of Girdlegard.
Much of the Dwarves' gameplay between combat missions consists of narrated choose-your-own-adventure style branching story paths and dialogue trees. While the branches themselves are not nearly as plentiful as some of our favorite games that focus on the format, like 80 Days, Steve Jackson's Sorcery, or Monster Loves You, the partially free roaming map provides an excuse to return to previous areas and witness the consequences of your actions. This lends them weight, and is perhaps what best sells the game as a playable swords and sorcery book.
Decisions on the overworld map are also given mechanical weight by the concept of food. Your party has rations and cannot heal between combats without them. Many of your narrative decisions impact your food supply, as does the act of dilly-dallying around when you should be progressing on your epic quest.
The main story itself is parceled out in a surprising amount of quality cutscenes. Beard made of clay.
Pungdil Claybeard.
Yes, perhaps, but don't.
Other than a couple minor details like the hair looking a little stiff, these cutscenes feel quite rewarding whenever they appear. Just look at the neck flesh on this guy.
Oh god, look at that neck flesh.
That's some neck flesh. That guy's 90% neck flesh.
Wow.
Get that gout looked at.
Wowie wow.
Oh wait, he's got a meat beard.
I would say it is a juicy goiter. Did you know that goiters were part of high fashion at a certain point in history?
Wow, you had to grow your own fashion? That's amazing.
Yeah, because what happened is the royalty would get goiters because people didn't know about iodine. And so everybody that wanted to hang out with the king was like, oh, I better get one of those too. I better grow myself a goiter.
Damn. What exactly is a goiter? It's just like when like a gland in your neck gets like swollen from fluids, right? Or what is it?
Yeah.
Man, because I've seen some dudes that have got some goiter action going on, like half the face kind of deals. And I'm talking real life. I'm not talking about this not-on guy in the game.
It's your thyroid gland.
Wow, okay.
It is caused by diet. I do know that. But basically, so if you live near the sea, you're going to automatically get enough iodine in your diet because it's in the soil and thus it is in the plants. So in medieval times, wherever you were, that's where your food came from, right? Which is not the case now. But, you know, if you're not getting enough iodine in your diet, that's what causes goiters. And that's why salt is iodized and why it is very silly to not buy iodized salt.
Ah, the decline of the modern goiter. It's a real shame.
Free the goiter, bring the goiter back. Hashtag go team goiter.
The Dwarves contains a fair amount of well-polished surprises for a AA budget title. Descriptive text, cutscenes, and conversations are all fully voiced.
The Queen considers, then nods.
So be it. Could there ever be a better time to revive the old commonality of the kingdoms? Baland is here.
The voice work itself can be a bit of a mixed bag, but it's overall far above average. The main characters' performances share the spotlight, and the narrator's raspy tone is a wonderful touch, sweeping through the game's descriptions like autumn leaves on the wind.
You sneak up on the men until a thick branch breaks loudly under your boot. You realize, terrified, that the men's voices have fallen silent. The men jump up and grab their axes.
Who's there?
In contrast, the evil Alfar and bloodthirsty orcs you face down on the field seldom have spoken lines, which is definitely for the better.
And which of us is the leader?
The one that conquers the most land.
So Kragna will be the new Grand Lord.
On the battlefield, audio is little more than passable. Repetitive battle cries and blade clashes rule each fight, and even the most powerful abilities sound muted and anemic. It's painfully average when compared to the dialogue's overall level of quality, but not offensive.
Ow! Another one bites the dust! I didn't hit you very hard! Ow! Hey! Yes! What is it?
Clever writing, abundant with dry humor, saves the day here and helps drive the tone home. Most of the members of your expedition don't reveal a wealth of character depth, but there's enough to create some interest and intrigue over the dwarves' brief 12-hour journey. It's easy to see that dialogue and exposition is KINGart's biggest strength. Both play to the source material and honor the developer's adventure game roots.
The force of the music clouds your senses, and it seems as if the statue of the blind guardian rises from his throne. You want to draw your companion's attention to it, but then you suddenly realize that you have a tankard of ale in your hand.
The Dwarves has a fairly unique combat approach. Due to the physics-driven nature of the fights, players will be challenged to use their stocky strongmen's abilities to the utmost in order to knock back, confuse, and control huge crowds of enemies. Movement carries momentum, and a full run can sometimes even be used to stun the Horde's frontliners. The landscape itself is an advantage if used strategically, or a curse for the inattentive. So Giselbert is a caretaker with a big heart of gold, probably. Dwarves like gold.
Dwarves do like gold. I mean, who doesn't like gold?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a kind of like not gold kind of guy, but...
Oh yeah, you're into the frankincense?
Yeah.
You're a merman?
I'm more of a merman. Oh, Glandolin, no! What have you done?
Oh my god, I can't believe you. Okay. The game features pausable real-time combat that focuses on tactical positioning and well-timed use of special abilities. Most of these abilities send piles of orcs or zombies or whatever flying into the air, perhaps into some fire or off a precariously placed cliff. This, combined with your hero's lengthy regenerating health bars, ensures that each combat does a great job of evoking the epic, high fantasy feel of a handful of heroes holding out against a never-ending horde of baddies.
Midway through the game, your roster will be filled with all manner of magicians, misfits, circus performers, and sideshow freaks. Each one of these has a small number of vastly different abilities at their command. Your squad size is limited to 4. This doesn't sound like much, but it makes for a potentially large toolbox. Ranged characters like Fergus can rain fiery crossbow bolts down from a hilltop, or a disguised Rodario can creep behind enemy lines to sow chaos.
Each hero's set of abilities is unique, mildly customizable, and built to add to their personality. Your elderly dwarven blacksmith will steadily send swaths of critters flying with his mighty hammer, while a more cowardly, annoying character is used to lure enemies to his weak, plump body, then hide under his shield while the rest of your team does their work. Happily, the game gives you plenty of freedom to stock your 4-member combat team as you wish. I personally filled my roster with the titular dwarves and ignored the rest.
Success is largely based on knowing the limitations of the character skills and using them with impeccable timing to create traps and kill zones without hitting your teammates. I own gold my own team far more than I care to admit. Friendly fire also applies to your enemies, and there's a certain satisfaction in positioning orcs to send a hail of arrows into their buddies' backs. Clever use of terrain, the pause feature, and complementary skill combos can ensure victory, and even turn enemy attacks into yet another weapon in your arsenal. The Dwarves is fun, but unpolished. The camera is locked to your group, and there's no minimap or objective indicators, so missions can require some trial and error while you wander around to the goal. Skill descriptions are a little vague, making it hard to choose abilities upon level up. It's hard to gauge a skill's utility until they're used in a fight. Trading with merchants is also a little confusing, requiring more button presses than necessary. There's also a few bugs that were never quite shaken out, even after some patching. Enemy AI is sometimes spotty. A couple terrain bugs glitched me out of bounds or knocked Tongue Deal around while I was exploring. One bug kept me from issuing orders to my team, and a more serious one glitched menus and controls, requiring me to force quit the game. The game's positive aspects kept me coming back, even despite these setbacks, but if the occasional bug is a deal breaker, you should consider yourself warned. Back in my early days of computer gaming, I played a little remembered pair of RPGs by the name of Dark Sun. Shattered Lands and its sequel Wake of the Ravager were both deep and filled with impactful choices, meaningful dialogue, and tactical combat. They were also both glitchy, exploitable, and unbalanced, and some of my favorite DOS games. Dark Sun was ultimately about player choice. It was always fascinating to see what ridiculous spell combination, hidden secret, or overpowered item I could use to cheese my way past seemingly impossible fights. For me, the dwarves, while much shorter in length and smaller in scope, struck many of the same chords. At the end of the tunnel, the dwarves reminds me strongly of the same kind of fun that could be had in broken and unbalanced RPGs of the 90s and early 2000s. It's Dragon Age Light, low-calorie Neverwinter Nights, basic Baldur's Gate. The whole game has a sort of dollar store fantasy novel charm which hooked me until the very end, even despite several bugs and setbacks. Plus, it often can be found on a deep sale. If you're the type of person looking for an epic 40-hour RPG experience, you'll want to look elsewhere. But if you play games for the journey and are inclined to spend a dozen hours in a groundling-filled physics sandbox, then heft that hammer and get tongs deep into the dwarves.
God, it is hard to look at.
I know. Oh jeez. It
Stop.
flaps in the wind.
Please stop. Oh God.
Found
Please.
out about 60 orbits ago during a visit to the borders. Our magical bad.
I hope this isn't our fourth character.
The Elfar have left their land.
Oh man, it is.
Put him in the
just
light.
so
Yes, this
disturbing.
is
Ah,
good.
Oh God,
every angle. Ugh,
strengthen the spell
boy.
with your magic?
no.
rough
I
stuff.
can't repair the damage alone. We need the combined power of the 6.
Thank you
The
for
other
putting
4
that
are
over. Oh,
already on their way here. But we need your help too.
He's
Set off for Parista without
he's just beautiful. Look at him.
yeah, I wish that ruffled scarf thing wasn't.
Look at this bling too.
So take the
Like
opportunity
pushing
to
his
bring
neck
back
out of his
your
head
feelings
like a
that I
tube of
left you.
toothpaste.
I have them already packed in a bag.
Oh, thank you. We'll be expecting you.
And by we, he means his neck.